Welcome back, guys, to Group A of Season 2 for WCS Europe Premier. My name's Kyle Laris alongside Apollo. And now we have our next game on the way for Group A, and it's going to be none other than Dignitas's Tefel going up against Empire Beastyqt.
Yeah, I'm excited for these next two players going head-to-head here in our second game of the day. Quite excited. Any predictions?
Well, the thing is, when I went into this group, I thought to myself, if there's ever going to be a very, very long series, I thought it will be between Tefel and Beastyqt, as there certainly can be a lot of long games. Tefel plays his very own style of Zerg, and then as does Beastyqt, he plays a lot of long macro games, but he certainly has a few tricks up his sleeve as well.
Yeah, there you can see both players here from Poland and Belarus. Both these players going head-to-head to find out who will play against MVP and who will go down to play against Elfie in the losers match.
Belarus? Isn't he from Slovakia?
Yes. No, but yes, sorry.
I think so. He's from one of those countries.
My mistake.
But anyway, now we move into Belchia Vestige here for our first game. Yes. As we have spawning up to the top left-hand corner here as our blue Terran. He is Mr. Empire Beastyqt. And spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner here as our red Zerg. He goes by the name of Dignitas Tefel.
Serbia, actually. I was wrong again.
Serbia. Well, we were both wrong. Anyways, so Belchia Vestige is indeed our map here, TVZ. And I think from Wings of Liberty to Heart of the Swarm, TVZ has become, I would say, my favorite matchup. There's so much that can occur in the mid-game, so much in the early game as well, but the mid-game is really a point where it is able to, you know, you just see so much action constantly throughout the game.
That's right. This is one of my favorite matchups at the moment, like you're saying, actually, as well. But both of these players, you know, interestingly enough, coming into the Premier League through Challenger League, going through the hard, grueling set of games that you have at the bottom stages of Challenger League and just making your way through. You know, Beastyqt just narrowly missing out on being qualified for Season 1 himself at the start of the Premier League. Now focusing on getting through, being one of 16 players making his way into Challenger League. I just want to point out one thing, though. Looking at these builds, Tefel is a player that always opens up spawning pool against Terran player. Every single time. Spawning pool, then hatchery. Never goes hatchery first, like every other Zerg player. He's like the only professional player that I always see going spawning pool first. Yeah,
you're right. And he is that kind of player that will play very, very defensively, play very, very cautiously, but he plays it out in his own style. And he is one of the Zergs in the European scene right now that plays it out just to his way and finds a lot of comfort in it. Again, another thing in the repertoire of Tefel is, for example, going up to Hydralisks very quick and focusing a lot on those in the mid-game.
The Tefel's playstyle is really difficult, and as good as an up-and-coming player he is, because he had such a good DreamHack run as well, just like Elfie did. Tefel made it to the round of 16 at DreamHack. An incredible performance for an average Zerg player, and I say quote-unquote average Zerg player because that's what he's been throughout his entire StarCraft 2 career. But with the recent fading out of Nurcio in Poland, Tefel has that chance to rise up to be the best Zerg player from that country, and he has that opportunity so close to grabbing. But going back to what you were saying, in the DreamHack tournaments and other tournaments too, he's very much so a Roach Hydra focused player. Loves 1-1 timings, loves 2-2 timings. The problem with this play against the two Terran players in his group, Beastyqt and MVP, MVP crushed Zergs when they tried that against him in the season finals last month. Crushed Zergs in the Europe Premier League as well. And now Beastyqt knows exactly how to play against that as well. He's prepared for his opponents. He's seen Tefel play Zerg versus Terran at DreamHack. I feel that Tefel's style here may just get simply crushed out because of who he's playing against.
Yeah, I actually have to agree with you. And then to that point is that Tefel, when he plays that Roach Hydra style that you see him play a lot, he sometimes gets, I want to say he gets stuck in the mid-game for too long and then never really has anything to transition onto from that point. Whereas his opponents, if they play out a fully flourished macro style and they're able to be solid throughout the mid-game, it's really hard for Tefel to make something go on into the later stages of a game.
What we're seeing here from Beastyqt is trying to swing around to spot the gases. Of course, any gases indicates aggression. No gases indicates just macro play, and he spots it all. Drones coming for the surrounds. And he may actually pick up both Reapers here with that Queen.
Oh, he's not focusing down. Oh, He did at the very end.
He got greedy there. He wanted to get both and got 0. The Queen's going to have to move from the natural here to try and intercept them, but these Reapers are regenerating on the high ground. A little bit unfortunate there for Tefel. Beastyqt behind this, though. You know, Command Center down, should be adding on a... He's got his extra barracks and Tech Lab coming down. So the thing with Beastyqt here is that I actually managed to speak to him before the broadcast went live. And this was yesterday. And I said, how's your training going? And he told me that he's been playing nothing but custom games, building specific builds to beat his opponents, and then practicing on an alias, on a barcode, on ladder for his mechanics.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing from him is a practice build. He hasn't gone 3 command centers like a normal Terran does. He's added on extra barracks. He's going to increase his army count. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Tefel has got the Roach One and double evolution chambers coming down, or at least one of them at this point, the second one very shortly. He's playing exactly into Beastyqt's hands. If we see another Tech Lab or just pumping out Marauders from one barracks, which I think he may do here, in identification of how his opponent plays, this is a good setup for Beastyqt, despite being behind in supply at this point.
Yeah, certainly could be. He's going to switch up a few buildings here as well to move that factory away so that he can get things going in terms of that macro. Hellions are moving out now, but Tefel should be able to defend against this a little bit. He already has that wall up and running for himself, as well as those Queens in position to block that off. One of the Reapers did go down previously, and the second one will fall now. But Tefel here, he's not doing too badly for himself. He did get a lot of his creep denied just then, though.
Yeah, creep denial always good with these Hellions and making sure that you are identifying how your opponent wants to play. Interestingly, though, melee upgrade coming in for Tefel. This is going against the grain.
Yeah,
this is not how he usually likes to play. So the thing is with Tefel, if I was to put down his style in a couple of words, I say very timing oriented. So if we're going to play melee, then I think what he's going to go for is quite a fast infestation pit for a few infestors to help defend while rushing up to a hive and ultralisks. But the way that Beastyqt is playing without a third command center down incredibly fast in this game, he's going to be the one putting the pressure on here. He can move down with tanks, move down. And tanks being made, that in itself tells us that he was expecting to play against Roach Hydra.
Yep, he's certainly just gearing up for himself against those Roaches that are on the way, at least. But we'll see how Tefel actually wants to transition this on. As you pointed out, could certainly be that kind of strategy with those Ultralisks. A lot more drones are on the way now, so he's going to be rocketing up to around 60-some drones here, as well as getting Clear Reconstitution out. This is... It's as if he's just kind of preparing for a mid-game to hold with Roaches and then transition on. Yeah,
getting Roach speed here with just a handful of Roaches could lead to believe that he may try a big Roach Baling attack with 1/1 upgrades or something. We'll see if a Baling Nest comes down, but I think we'll see the Baling Nest anyway, right? Because he's playing Zergling Neutralist. The thing we should be looking for is, do we see an Infestation Pit or a Spire come down? And without the Baling Nest coming down, he's losing his timing to get Baling speed, for example. So I don't think that's going to be the way that he's going to play. So it should be the Infestation Pit. He's never been a big Mutalist fan, in all honesty.
Yeah, certainly should be. You're right. You don't really see too many Mutalists out of Tefel. It is more that Infestor approach that would go along with it, because I think it synergizes better with the strategies that we've been seeing from Tefel in the past. You know, the very, very heavy Roach, a Hydra player. As for now, he is having that +2 melee weapons, +1 melee weapons finish up. He's got that speed on the way for Zerglings as well, so I'm curious to see where his focus goes after having out these 16 Roaches to just keep him sturdy.
Yeah, he keeps on building Roaches here, and I really think that he's expecting his opponent to come down. It really depends on what he's seen inside his opponent's main base. Could we have a quick look at what he has seen? I mean, Tefel, looking inside his opponent's base, I don't think he's seen the third command center at this point, if I'm not mistaken. So, look, I mean, Beastyqt has seen pretty much everything, but Tefel, on the other hand, has spotted the factory with the Tech Lab, spotted additional barracks. So I really believe that he's expecting this push out to come, which indeed it is.
Yeah, and it is coming with a lot of strength here. Those 3 siege tanks are very, very strong here when it actually comes to the move out. A great pickup there on a lot of Roaches as well. So much damage being done by Beastyqt there to kick things off. The Infestation Pit's going down with a lot of Zerglings en route, but Beasty got a few free kills.
Yeah, a few free kills here. And at this point, he's going to drop inside the main base upon killing off those Roaches. And then he's going to move down to try and cancel this 4th base. The 3rd command center now finally coming down incredibly late in this game here for Beastyqt, throwing a lot of money into his army. No Banelings, though. That's the biggest point.
No Zerglings actually did catch some of those siege tanks before they could actually morph in to their siege mode there. So they do go down without doing as much damage as Beasty would have liked them to have done. But he does push those Roaches away for now. The drop going on in the main as well here, trying to pick up some of these drone kills. Good movement here by Beastyqt. He knows his opponent's army is entirely over the other side of the map, so he's really exploiting that.
So if he could get drone kills in a queen or two and kill the 4th, That's a nice move.
Yeah.
If he gets one or the other, it's an okay move.
He's going for the spawning pool.
Down.
It's going to go down. I don't think he can stop that even with Zerglings and drones that want to come off the line. There you go. He picks up the spawning pool, but there's always the Roach Warren still down for the Roaches.
Yeah, and it's been rebuilt. Actually, it cancels the spawning pool getting rebuilt there. Going to be a bit of an annoyance, but Infestors are coming out. This is his security, and ideally, like I said, he would have liked to be pushing up to Hive at this point. But we do have the Roaches and Zerglings, clean up a few forces in the middle of the map. Still a solid defense left at home here, but Tefel, 70 supply ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if this is actually going to... I mean, it's 103 army supply for Tefel to 54 of Beastyqt, and he's going to go for a drop now down to the bottom left. This is what BC has to do. He has to keep his opponent at home and in a defensive mindset, because if he doesn't, Tefel could actually just start knocking on his opponent's door with Roaches, Lings, and Infestors and cause a lot of havoc.
Yeah, couldn't... health bars on that, about 75% there, as we did see last minute. Infestors starting to come out in numbers. These are going to be the drop dealers, or dealing with the drops.
Yeah.
And especially if he lands the right couple of fungals, Infested Terrans can be launched as well. He's expecting to drop into the main here, or at least had his units in the main. But these drops coming in, what's there to help defend it?
I don't think anything right now.
Just two Infestors.
They're just positioning themselves. Should be able to lock that down with a fungal. He might be a little bit preoccupied with the... I know, he is keeping an eye on it, so we'll lock that down pretty quickly there. Chain fungals are going to cause a lot of damage to that, and in fact, probably end up killing it off with those queens. So really good play there by Tefel. Meanwhile, though, a little bit of a drop heading down to the third base as well, trying to do some damage. Only 4 Marines in that, so they might get a few drone kills, but it's not too much.
With killing the spawning pool, he's really slowed down his opponent. I mean, despite being at 200 supply, he's got a lot of Roaches. I'm not sure if that's what Beastyqt really wants, but the big problem is that because Beastyqt invested so much in his army value rather than an early third base, he's fallen behind in supply. And when he's fallen behind in supply here, he really wanted to do major damage. Killing the spawning pool just slowed his opponent down and pushed his composition to Roaches. He didn't kill the fourth, he didn't kill a major amount of drones in the main base either. Beastyqt really didn't do the damage necessary. And we could see a big wave of attack coming to this third base here. This could be undefendable.
Yeah, seriously, that is a massive army here from Tefel now crashing down onto this third base. 120 army supply against 65. Beasty's having a really, really hard time of dealing with this. A great fungal locks down a lot of those SCVs as well as those mules here. Going to kill off a ton of those. And now Tefel, I mean, these Roaches don't even have great upgrades. They have 1 carapace, but it doesn't matter because he has so many of them.
Yeah, he's locking down these Marines here. Another fungal gets put down by Tefel, and he's still at 200 supply. The Hive is coming in. He'll eventually be going over to those Mulists. A nice counter drop play by Beastyqt. Does bring down the fourth base. But he could just lose everything. Yeah,
I mean, does it even matter at this point with Beastyqt now losing the majority of his Marines back at home? He has 15 Marines left over and 3 siege tanks against 38 Roaches, 12 more in production, which is going to constantly power out across the map. The one thing Beasty has in his favor is architecture advantage that is natural, but that's going to diminish very soon if Tefel wants to keep knocking on that door.
I think one of the big weaknesses of Beastyqt as a player is when he designs these builds, if they don't work, then he falls behind naturally because he's not relying on just playing a straight-up macro game. There's always a little twist to his strategy and how he wants to map this out.
I think there's no reactionary transition out of it after seeing his opponent do something slightly different.
He's always looking to gain an advantage, and if he doesn't gain it, he just naturally plays the game from behind here, which is what we're seeing as Tefel still cruising at 100 supply difference. It's a lot of Roaches. It's 50 Roaches difference.
And there's 8 more Infestors on the way. Admittedly, he did lose all of his Infestors, but still, having those 8 out to complement this amount of Roaches whilst he's maxed down, Beasty's going to have a miracle defense here to really shut his opponent down.
Yeah, I'm looking for... I mean, Beastyqt's got to have a great defense and a drop at the same time. He just doesn't have the numbers at this point. Tefel has such a high unit count, and he's changed his strategy rather than rushing up to a Hive or Ultras. He's saying, well, if I just keep a high unit count and keep you away from a third base, then I don't need to rush anything out. I'll keep my Roach supply. I've got a lot of Infestors. I'll bank a lot of energy. I'll invest in more Infestors, as you saw him building a few just now. But eventually, when the Ultras cannon comes down, that's when things get really difficult, especially now Tefel's banking money. He just needs the fourth base to have enough gas. Beastyqt, if he does this, it's going to be a miracle comeback.
It's as if Tefel's build was designed to just keep him alive during the mid-game.
Yeah.
And then transition onto a late game where he has +3 weapons for Ultralisks and he's doing a lot of damage in the late game. But he's done more than just survive in the mid game with these Roaches. He's actually piled on the pressure to the point where Beasty's constricted and choking.
Yeah, this is very difficult for BC to hold on. Just the supply disadvantage is too major at this point. As Tefel breaks through the third base pathway, and without that third base being there, again, Beastyqt is running out of money in his main base and his natural. He is just running out of resources. He needs to find more money, but without a third base, then how can you?
Yeah, it's difficult, especially with losing. Well, actually, Beastyqt, he is trying to pick up a few drone kills here, so not doing too badly for himself in that. A little bit of a drop down to the third as well, trying to do some damage. So Beasty's trying to keep his opponent back during all of this, but I think it might just be too late here for him to fully keep his opponent on the back foot.
Yeah, so many workers been killed here by Beastyqt. 68 in this game. Such great harassment. If only he had his hand on a third base and tanks and bunkers, a fortified position to hold on to. Because without that, he's never going to get a higher than 120, 130 supply in this game. And he's always going to be fighting against a 200 supply Tefel, whether it be Zerglings and Roaches or Ultralisks. At this point, it doesn't matter. It's just numbers.
What's funny is, to those numbers, is that it's only 42 drones to 35 SCVs, but that's not going to matter now as Tefel comes crashing in, killing off so much of Beastyqt's army, killing off Marines, killing off siege tanks. There's a few, once again, on this architecture that is favoring Beastyqt, but he has the high ground vision now. He has locked down a lot of the army with the fungals, chaining it as well. The infestors do kind of stray on forwards there a little bit further than was expected, but there's just too many roaches.
Yeah, this is a terrible fight from Tefel. You know, a really bad trade. But he's just got so much stuff. He may just narrowly win this or narrowly lose it. Look at it. It's incredibly close despite being 200 supply against 100. It looks like he's pushed back for now, but he's dropped Beastyqt down to 50 supply and only 17 SCVs. There's a drop still going on at this point, but just simple Zergling reinforcements. That's all he needs to spend money on.
Yeah.
Will overpower his opponent, who just is too far below in numbers. A terrible trade there for Tefel.
Yeah.
A horrible fight to take, but it didn't really matter.
Army count right now, 87 to 38 in favor of Tefel. And these drops are still continuing here for Beastyqt as he knows that's his lifesaver. He has to try and bring his opponent back from everything that he wants to assault, but Tefel's not going to have any of it. He's not falling for it. He knows that he's in a position of power right now.
Yeah, I guess the way that Beastyqt pulls us back, if he's able to find a bit of breathing room just to get tanks around and a bunker or two on that third base, if he's able to mine, he can catch up to this relatively small supply count that Tefel has. But still, you know, Beastyqt's got defensive tanks on his natural. They have to be on his third. Tefel is now mining from his base on the left-hand side. He did, once again, as we see in the production tab, lose his spawning pool to another one of these drops that keep going on. They've been consistent. I don't think we've even watched all of these drops come down. Not all of them.
There's been a few. There's been a lot to keep track of. I mean, there's one in the main right now. There's one over in this fourth base as well, doing quite a bit of damage. I mean, Beasty, off the back of this, he's killing off drones, and he has to because he's only on 18 SCVs. So his income is waning by far in comparison to Tefel's. He has to somehow, some way. I mean, this is kind of desperation here from Beasty. He's trying to mine long distance here. He's afraid to land it, even just that little bit closer to his opponent.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if that command center had a big wave of roach hits, it's over, and he knows it too, and
GG.
Good game is called. Tefel takes map number 1 between these two players, and I didn't think that Tefel would be able to beat Beastyqt, but as mentioned, his build, his strategy, not quite refined well enough to bring in the first win.
Yeah, Tefel there playing very, very interestingly and well in the end to what his opponent was actually doing.
Yeah.
Again, I think we have to reiterate that roach play was never designed to fully kill his opponent. He was always gearing up for that late game. He was always gearing up for a lot of Ultralisks. But, you know, he got a lot more done with those roaches than he ever would have in his wildest dreams want to have done.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how this next map's going to unravel, because remember, this is the second match of Group A. The winner of these two players, Tefel and Beastyqt, will go up against LGIM Jürgen himself, MVP, in the winners match. The loser will fall down to play against Alfie and will play to remain in this tournament. They'd fall out of Premier League instantly, just like that. Just as fast as they got in, they fall out just as fast as well. So it's very important, every single game, every single map, for these players to regain the confidence needed to push through to the round of 16 to play in front of a live audience from Cologne here in Germany.
And it's actually important to note that you don't get guaranteed Premier spot until you're in top 8 of Premier, which is a scary, scary position to be in. Going through Challenger again, all of these players, aside from Mr. MVP, went through Challenger last season, and it was grueling for 2 out of the 3 of them. Very grueling indeed. So, and that was Beastyqt and Elfie. So going into Game 2, Neo Planet S. Apollo, what are your thoughts?
Neoplanet S has always been a great map for Widow Mines, right? You remember Stefano versus 4GG and how they worked out, even though that didn't really work out for 4GG, more so for Stefano. But on this map, Widow Mines are fantastic use. So we could see the same play from Tefel, Roach play, because he knows that Widow Mines are great to be used here. And the main reason for them being used, if you just think and visualize Neoplanet S, it's a very narrow, small, multiple pathway, segue, choke point map. Lots of small ways to move. Widow Mine's great in small little pathways. They do maximum amounts of damage versus clumped up units, which is why we see Terran players love to use it, and sometimes Zerg players love to go Roach Hydra. Roach Hydra, super strong against Widow Mines. Roaches don't take that much damage. You can move Roaches in and soak up damage and come crashing in with your Roach and Hydralisks. Against tank play, we saw what tanks do to Roaches if they get their shots on. They blow them up. They blow them up good.
They really do. There's certainly a good amount of room in between your main and natural to set up tanks in a very, very nice position defensively on this map for those Terrans. Well, we'll see what Tefel actually wants to do here as we get loaded up for game number 2 between Mr. Dignitas Tefel and Beastyqt, as we have spawning up to the top right as our blue Terran, currently 1 game down. He is Empire Beastyqt. And spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner as our red Zerg, currently 1 game up, doing pretty well for himself in game number 1. He is Dignitas Tefel.
Such an uproar that Tefel's been making recently. I mean, even his run through Challenger, for the Challenger qualification and Challenger League itself, beating players like Titan, you know, always a great Russian Protoss player. And then you got Kras, the great up-and-coming Terran from Germany. And then Naniwa himself, as you mentioned at the start of the show. Being able to beat out Naniwa was a massive, hello world, I'm Tefel. You remember that Zerg player from Poland? You remember that you don't really hear too much about? Yeah, that's me. And I'm in Premier League now. And that was a big moment for him.
Yeah, and what you were saying before about him trying to claim that top spot as Poland's first Zerg player, I mean, he's pretty much, he's on the verge. During all the EPS Polands that have been going on, he's always claiming very, very top spots, either seconds, thirds, fourths, be it to other rival players in Poland, which has a phenomenally strong scene. It's hard to gain those top spots there. And aside from that, his first appearance, I believe, with Dignitas, was Intel Extreme Masters Singapore, which he qualified for and then actually participated over there. Didn't do too badly in the groups, but he is certainly slowly making a name for himself, doing pretty well.
Yeah, slowly but surely, and it's about time. He's been playing StarCraft for a long, long time here, and eventually you need to have spotlight of your own, and this could be Tefel's chance, but likewise could be Beastyqt. I'd say if Beastyqt made it out this group, it'd be the biggest result in StarCraft 2 overall. I'd go as far as to say that, because WCS, the Europe Premier League, is such a prestigious event. Players are not playing in tournaments just to play in the Premier League, to practice for the Premier League, more so, should I say. It means that much to them.
Yeah, I think it was it Baby Knight that actually said he wasn't going to DreamHack to practice for other tournaments?
Yeah.
I mean, he was at Home Story Cup, but other tournaments, I'm pretty sure, would mean this tournament. WCS, he did so well last season and really wants to kind of ramp it up for this season. But coming back to Beastyqt, he's a player also that has had quite an interesting road through StarCraft. He was initially, obviously, in Europe, practicing away, but then I think he went over to America to practice for a long time, didn't he?
Beastyqt lived with Mr. Bitter and Rotterdam in, I think it was called the Razor Academy House or the Razor Professional, whatever it was at that time, the training house that Mr. Bitter set up. Yeah, and he did live there for a long time, participated in a couple of events, didn't do the best. But, you know, he's always had this same style. It's pick a strategy, make it as good as you can. He's like a mini MVP when it comes to that. He envisions himself in the same way. Make a build, make a strategy that works well, or at least attempt to make it work well, and then nail it to good God execution, go, go, go.
It's very Empire-esque mentality, I would say, if you think about Cass and Happy and people like that. But,
yeah, they all play a little bit similar. They all play a little bit similar. Beastyqt, though, a little bit more wild of all of those players. Poking him with his double Reapers here. Did open up Reaper again. Interested to see if he does go for this third command center, or if he's just going to play, you know, normal again. Or not normal, should I say abnormal, I suppose. You know, adding on the extra barracks, a little bit more funky of a play style.
And he is going to. So third command center is on the way. And I like this. As a deviation up from game number 1, clearly things weren't working out there. And after seeing what his opponent was doing, opening up that many roaches mid-game, probably wasn't going to work in its entirety. So a good little move here from Beastyqt to set things off in game number 2.
I think playing aggressive versus Tefel is just a bad idea in general. He's one of the better defensive Zerg players, actually. Very good at holding all ins, holding attacks. He crushed the one that came out from Beastyqt quite easily. And he's beaten many Protoss players who attempt their gateway attacks and their immortal all-ins. He's always been really good in that aspect.
But in turn, he always sacrifices his economy for that kind of play style. So again, beating Tefel in the later stages of a game is where you always find strength. And I think that Tefel in game number 1, he recognized that that was normally his weakness, and he was gearing up for that later game, which was quite a cool little play there from Tefel.
And then we see Beastyqt there, just trying to get a bit of scouting information. Is my opponent mining a lot of gas or bringing in a lot of gas? And the answer was no, so he knows that he's okay to keep on doing what he's doing. But we do see Widowmine production beginning. And we'll see if this, keeps on going. As we see Tefel has no idea what his opponent's actually doing at this point. He doesn't know if the 3 barracks have come down, the 3rd command center's come down. But we see quite a regular setup, again, here from Tefel.
Tried to dart on in with these 2 Hellions, but not going to get in at all. A good wall off there from Tefel will push those guys away. How many queens does he have? 4. So we should be able to get that creep spread going quite quickly as well here. As for now, Beastyqt just ramping things up as well. He's got his Widowmine. Did I hear a Widowmine?
Yeah, it borrowed on the 4th base there, as we could just see.
Yeah.
Very interestingly here, only a single evolution chamber to begin with. The second one now coming in. He's actually delayed his second upgrade. I'm not sure if that was intentional, a bit of a mistake, because I don't think it's really beneficial to delay it like that. I think it's much easier just to get it straight away.
Yeah.
I mean, what does he trade off there? 150 gas so he can build, what, an additional roaches when he's already got 300 gas in the bank? That nice Widowmine hit, though. These Hellions, if they had more health, they didn't sell themselves to the devil. Could have actually done a bit more damage. Could have even killed that queen.
Yeah, we'll have to retreat for now, especially with those roaches on the way to help on out. So a little, not too bad a defense there from Tefel. Secures himself that 3rd base, gets that up and running. He's going to go for a bit of a scout in his opponent's base as well. Have a look around. He sees siege tanks, and he's going to continue to make a lot of roaches, as well as get range weapons.
Yeah, I mean, he got range weapons long before he saw the tanks.
Yeah.
So, he may switch over to melee upgrades after this +1 range, but he does have the infestation pit coming down nice and early. And we'll want to take the gases on that 3rd base to be able to power that, whether he rushes up towards Vipers, very good against tank play, whether he tries to use Infestors, whether he just goes over to Hydralisks as well, as we see the Hydralisk Den being put down here. But going to Hydralisks, I feel that we may see Vipers. I feel like he may go straight up towards the Hive here. It doesn't make too much sense to go Infestors and a Hydralisk. You don't have enough gas. He hasn't even taken his gas on the 3rd base yet.
Yeah, this is the Tefel that we know a bit more of here in the European scene. Just going for this very, very heavy ranged composition here. There's the Hive morphing in as well. So certainly could be that. It's going to be very, very quick.
He's going to try to get towards 200 supply as fast as possible, get Vipers down, and just land the Blinding Clouds on the tanks and come cruising in with, +2 attack, +2 attack roaches, hydras, you name it. If he goes for the +2 attack upgrade from his evolution chamber, which he should, I guess, ideally be aiming for right now, then he absolutely is going to do what I just said. If he changes it up, then he won't play that way. He'll try to go over to Infestors and also Zergling shortly. But there's the +2 attack. That's how he's going to play. This means that his mid-game becomes very, very strong. The longer the game goes on, the better the game becomes for Beastyqt, very simply, because eventually the Ultras will have to come in. Roach Hydra won't always cut it in this game. When the Marines and Marauders get upgraded, he has to go back to Ultralisks. But if you upgrade range, that's Roach and Hydra upgrades, not Zerglings and Ultralisks. Tefel must end this game in the next 5 to 6 minutes as soon as he hits 200 supply, or Beastyqt will take a heavy, heavy advantage.
And interestingly enough, we're actually seeing something from Tefel that is coming in more and more nowadays. It's just like a sprinkling of Infestors without pathogen glands, just to give that Roach Hydra composition a little bit more of a kick. Obviously, they're going to be banking up a little bit of energy, but it gets them very, very early on in comparison to where you normally would have pathogen glands coming out, so that they can accrue a little bit of energy here, whilst the first Viper is on the way. So a very cool composition very quickly here by Tefel.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very deadly composition that he's making here. That Beastyqt may not identify exactly what's going on, but he does have a healthy tank count. Remember, there's going to be only a couple of Vipers here. He's done this off 3 bases. So he's going to have to land the right Blinding Clouds. He is still not quite ready yet. Needs to rush up to 200 supply, or at least get there as fast as possible. Remember, the longer this game goes on, the better it is for Beastyqt.
Is he going just... he's not actually meta-editing anymore. Roach is on. He's only got 6, so he's going for more of a Ling Hydra play. This is something that's becoming more common as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is fine to do so, but there is a hole. He's broken through.
He's found himself one tank. Will he get a second? No, it doesn't look like it.
Stim is only... Oh, my gosh.
Whoa, why is Stim so late? Well, that's going to cause a little bit of problems here for Beastyqt.
I didn't even notice that. I was focused on so much on what Tefel was doing, that Stim is incredibly late. Luckily, Tefel doesn't know. That's very, very weird to see. I don't know if you can have a look. It was, I mean, I don't know if he just didn't have a tech lab on a barracks for a long time. I think that he just didn't research it.
He's going to get combat shields now as well. That's really late.
Yeah, both of these upgrades really, really late here. Getting a couple of extra factories down upon seeing what he's playing against. Really going to have to rely on tanks here. That was a bit, Now that Beastyqt, I mean, if you think of it, Tefel's almost full power. Yeah. He's almost full power, yet he found a way to slow his opponent down.
And now we have the one champion Swarm host marching across the map.
This may be it. This may be the march.
This may be it.
Hydra speed not done, so these Hydras waddling at the back.
Yeah, he just grabbed one of the siege tanks down. Good pick off there by Tefel. A lot more Roaches going to rendezvous with this army as well very, very quickly. One Swarm host alone, still trying to rally on forwards here.
He might try to come from the north. He realized that there's a lot of tanks in the middle. Bunkers as well. Not too much defense up on the high ground here. No wall off, no bunkers. Couple of tanks.
Yeah, it's going to have to hold on very, very sturdy here. Now just stim up with these units, trying to push some of this back. But again, there's not that much firepower there from Beastyqt, but Tefel doesn't know exactly how far that siege tank line actually goes back. Meanwhile, there was a little bit of a poke down to the south here with a small drop from Beastyqt, but didn't really cause too much. Tefel still powering on forwards at the third base. He could actually just pick this third command center off, and he's going to. Great fungals land on the bio as well. What a good pickup there by Tefel.
MVP's smiling, saying another Zerg player. I like Zerg players. I crushed them in the last WCS Premier League as Tefel comes marching down.
Wow.
Good game called. He was too strong in that mid game. Beastyqt was not ready, had a few holes in his defense, Kalaris, and that means that Tefel goes on to fight against Big Daddy MVP.
Scary stuff for Tefel. Scary stuff. Although Tefel didn't play too badly there.
Yeah.
Not sure how...
It's a nice style. I mean, you know, very Roach Hydra, how we originally anticipated his play to be on that first map.
So that means we now know the two players that are going to be going up against one another in the upper bracket and also the lower bracket. We shall first kick things off with MVP versus Beastyqt, and then afterwards we shall have Elfie going up against... In fact, no, it's MVP versus Tefel, and then Beastyqt versus Elfie.
That's right. Those are our next two games, guys. Quite looking forward to those, in all honesty.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if Tefel's aggressive Roach Hydra style can beat down MVP, who made Zerg players of Europe feel a little bit weak in the Premier League, or the top 8 Premier League last season, crushing through Roach Hydra play quite easily.
He only dropped, I think MVP only dropped one map in the round of 8 against Zerg players.
Yeah,
which is
not many,
scary.
Just one.
Yeah, against people like Stefano and Demager and... Ugh.
He crushed through, man. He crushed through nerds.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we'll be back in just a little bit when we shall have Mr. MVP going up against Tefel.